Your Town Matters is funded by the Government of Canada through the Local Journalism Initiative and supported by Cactus Media, Canada's independent community television association.
I'm Vicki Hogarth, and welcome to Your Town Matters. My guest today is the Mayor of St. Andrews, Brad Henderson. Thank you for being here today again, Brad.
Thanks for having me.
I want to talk about Appreciation Day coming up, Indulge returning, but let's start off with one of the biggest changes that shows the sign that the pandemic is ending is that we are resuming meetings for council in person soon.
Absolutely. So it's been, over a year and a half, and technically speaking, for our new council, the first time that they actually meet as a group. We've had some workshops that were distanced, but actually having a regular council meeting together in the same room and inviting the public to also come in to attend it, this is new for us. So we're looking at September 8th. Being the first meeting. The Monday is a holiday, and just for filming, we really wanted CHCO to be a part of that because, it's going to be a hybrid meeting where, some people aren't going to be comfortable going into town hall meetings. So some people are still going to want to watch online. They really appreciate it, the transparency. So with the help of CHCO, we hope to blend that together, to be in person, but also to have it available and streaming live on Facebook and, of course, CHCO for the public.
And we are excited about this change of venue as well.
It is. So the courthouse, the town took over ownership of the courthouse, I think it was about 3 years ago officially, by the time all the paperwork was done. But it's been an asset that right now, the Charlotte County Archives have used. There's been, even our Legion use them. Some different groups have been using it. But for town council, we've been moving around. It's one of those things that you have to check is where are they meeting today? We literally have met almost in every public building in town, it seems, but we're going to try to see if that can't be a temporary headquarters for us. So that way we have some consistency. And of course, what a beautiful backdrop the courthouse is. So looking forward to having everybody at the same table and continuing to work for this town.
Yeah, we're very excited to be filming in such a historic venue. Another thing that came up last regular council meeting, and I'm excited to follow, is that you're putting the councillors, you're giving them portfolios. Can you explain a little bit about what inspired this and who will have what as a portfolio?
Absolutely. So if you look at portfolios, it was something that we did on previous councils. So the last council did it as well. So each councillor gets a unique portfolio. For example, if you look at Councillor Gumashel, he would have recreation. If you look at Councillor Neal, you would have public safety. And if you look at those councillors, and those are just two examples, Councillor Neal has experience with the fire department. So who better that works with other emergency services to understand what really should be coming forward to that portfolio, and vice versa. Councillor Gumashel, for example, everyone knows he's very active on the trails. He's involved with sorties, soccer fields, stuff like that. To put people in their element of things that they're passionate about and have more expertise than the mayor and sometimes staff, it just makes sense. But they don't do the day-to-day on that. That is town staff. The basis of the portfolio is to really have a leader on council that looks after that particular area of our community. And we are looking at changing our procedural bylaw. On the past council, we all had portfolios, but to be honest, all we did was read the motions for them. There wasn't a whole lot of interaction in the day-to-day and with staff. What we're hoping to do is update that. So if you are the portfolio manager of a specific portfolio, you're actually going to be meeting with the mayor and staff and deciding what comes forward to a council meeting, what meetings need to take place. We want it to be a completely more engaged council where all members of council have a voice and all members of council are contributing. And we're excited to officially break those out. And the good news is that we were able to find a way in which everybody was very happy with the portfolio they got, which is very important as well.
I was talking to you a little bit about this before we started filming, that it reminds me of ministers in either the provincial or the federal government. Do you expect that maybe that will mean townsfolk, if they have an issue or something, an area of concern, they will go to the appropriate portfolio manager in an ideal setting?
I think you'll see that a lot of the time it does go to staff to mayor, but there's going to be times where I loop that portfolio manager in. So it's like an environmental issue, for example, which somebody was inquiring about the amount of debris that we had in our ditches. So Councillor Blanchard will get looped in on that, is because that will be something that will be under his portfolio. So I think that when you have not just the mayor and staff, but you actually have another member of council who can enter debate. Staff and mayor can't enter debate on any motion. So to have someone that's actually engaged in the issues at the table debating, I think it only makes for a stronger council.
I'm very excited. This is my first time at CHCO to be following a council from the very beginning. Another thing that you're doing is setting priorities and making that a public document so that if people in town want to know what's on your agenda, what your short-term, long-term goals are, they can find those online. Can you speak a little bit about where that's available and what some of those priorities are?
I absolutely can. So that was important to me. So when I ran, it was kind of learning from my previous 5 years on council is we did have a session kind of on our priorities, but we didn't bring in an outside facilitator. And I think that almost put us off on the wrong foot. And I'm very proud of what we accomplished on the last council, but I think at times it's been unfair to staff over those 5 years where if one councillor brought something forward, all of a sudden it was a priority and, staff had to adjust what their plan was or what their time was. And then, a month later, another councillor could come forward and have another priority. And it seemed like at times we were almost chasing our own tail. And I think by going that extra step, so we had some pre-meetings where councillors learned about the budget process. So when you set your priorities, you want to make sure they're realistic with the budget. We also looked at some of the upcoming commitments that the town is expected to make around the wharf, trails. And then we really wanted to find the real reasons of why people wanted to run, what they wanted to accomplish, and what they were hearing in the community. So we went through this extensive process, a couple pre-meetings, but really an all-day session and then 2 other follow-up meetings. And we have this one-page document that you're speaking to, and it is available at Town Hall. It is a public document. And what it really lays out is it lays out what council wants to accomplish over the next 4 years. Does it mean that there's not stuff on there that could get added? It could get added, but if something gets added, something should be taken off because we need to be focused. So that document really highlights what we're going to be doing now, and it puts specific dates for things in the future. And as well, it actually breaks out our senior staff to say what each of them are working on. So that way staff, council and staff are aware what everyone's priorities are and also what the timelines are. But what we're working on right now and what we're talking the most on is of course housing, which I'm sure we'll talk on a little bit later. But we've even looked at like different levels of things. One of the things we've always talked about in the community is a ladder truck. So this council doesn't have to debate, do we want to get a ladder truck over the next 4 years or not? We've already decided that we want to, and we have to find a way in which we can make that happen. And then it gets into specific initiatives around economic development. We do want to take another look at heritage. It does not mean necessarily a whole blanket heritage bylaw is happening, but we want to, what I'm hearing from council through that priority setting is we are concerned about our downtown. If it dies by 1,000 paper cuts, little changes, that kind of special feeling is gone. So we're very fortunate to have this document, and it's a guiding document. And so far, it's very early, but it seems like a lot of the heavy lifting's done because we know exactly what we want to accomplish.
Okay, one of the latest special meetings of council was about the Passamaquoddy Lodge. Can you, for people who may have missed it, explain what the latest is, and is there a new facility in the works?
There is a new facility in the works. Now there's a lot of check the boxes to get there. So there's a standalone independent board that represents the Passamaquoddy Lodge Incorporated. And they're working with the provincial government. They're looking to get the long-term funding in order to basically entice investors in order to invest and build a new facility. So one of the primary questions has been is where does that new facility go? So just this past, I guess it was Monday night at council, we actually voted, and the facility will be located on the corner of Champlain and Bar Road, which makes it nice and accessible to Highway 127. It won't be cutting through the subdivision. It's just right off the Bar Road. How that actually is developed is got to be, I guess you could say, sorted out a little bit more. They know the parcel of land they have to play with, and now we have to, go through the zoning and all that stuff. But right now, what we've done is we've given them 1 year. We want them to take that parcel of land that the town is willing to essentially, we have to enter a development agreement, but we're willing to actually donate this piece of land. We've all been to our Passamaquoddy Lodge. We have very great staff there, but the building is extremely dated. It's not up to code. If you have a double room, there's barely any room. Some rooms you can't even get a wheelchair fully in. It's time to update that facility. We are an aging community, and a lot of people that live in a community want to make sure that in all stages of their life, no matter what they need for assistance, that they can stay in the community, that they have their friends and their neighbors and their family. Right now, we're going to the next phase. They have the parcel land. They're going to the provincial government saying, we have the land, we have some of our own investors. What we need is a commitment for the province. So we're hoping that in the next year we have a very positive announcement that a new facility will be built. Important for the public to know is when you picture the Passamaquoddy Lodge, it's institutional, it's one large building. This is going to be more of a campus type of Passamaquoddy Lodge, which means that there'll be 5 or 6 independent little, almost like homes where each resident actually lives in with shared kitchen, common area as well. So it'll be a different type of model that is, I guess you could say, first in class in New Brunswick, leading the way. And then if you talk about pandemics and the things that we learned about that, when everybody's in one building, there's a lot of risk. But if you can separate them into little separate units, the spread of infection and regular disease is a lot less.
Mm-hmm. Obviously, St. Andrews with this new lodge could be a model for other communities. There's a silver lining to the pandemic that we've learned the right way, the wrong way to do things. Is that part of the inspiration to do it right now?
It is. And the other thing that, in addition, just for people to be aware of is it's kind of phase 2, but they're actually looking at someday of actually bringing the daycare as part of that facility as well. There's studies that show that when you have different generations, whether it be the daycare, all on the same campus, that it's a more vibrant community. But I think that it's a great location as well. I'm very appreciative of the one that we have today, which is behind the New Brunswick Community College. But in the same sense, you're behind the New Brunswick Community College with the town barn right there. So you've got heavy machinery, plus you've got students that are coming in and out of the NBCC. I think that maybe in the subdivision, kind of just coming off of it, that might be a superior location for them as well. So I'm excited that it's not just the lodge. It might be the start of a whole campus, and that's why they're looking for 12 acres of land.
Right. Is there a chance to repurpose the old lodge? I know you've mentioned the housing crisis as being one of the priorities of the new council. With an old facility, is there a chance we could use that for perhaps student housing or staff housing in the summertime?
Yeah, so Councillor Blanchard, actually, it's conversations we had before, but Councillor Blanchard highlighted it this week, is he really wanted the town to, from right now, get involved with those conversations. That is a building that, if you think about it, has multiple units, and it has a commercial kitchen. So if you're looking to actually have like a cafeteria, it's already got the infrastructure in place. So there's already been some developers that have been in to look at it. So I'm really excited to find out what the opportunity. The town, as part of the development agreement and maybe to put in the services, will probably use that as a position of leverage to help have a little bit of a voice for the community on what goes next in that building. But I've also talked to the board. The board are all people that are from St. Andrews. They want to make sure that that old building is repurposed for something that really improves St. Andrews. So if you look at, the fact that it's a few blocks away from the New Brunswick Community College and the fact that we have such a housing shortage, I don't see how you don't use that as an opportunity to improve that situation in the community.
And again, on the topic of the housing crisis, on the flip side, we've had a lot of new people move to town, but again, that has caused less housing available for people, particularly summer staff. There is a shortage of summer staff at different businesses in town. What is the latest conversation about how we tackle this housing crisis long-term in town? So
when we would have done our housing study, it indicated that the vacancy rate of long-term rentals in the town of St. Andrews was 2.3%. In the region, though, it varies from 0.3% right up to 3%. So the whole region, not just St. Andrews, most places are rented. And during COVID, it went from bad to worse. It is very, very hard to find long-term rental in the town of St. Andrews. I would go to the point where I would say that it is definitely dramatically impacting our economy. If you talk to a lot of businesses in downtown St. Andrews, especially restaurants, but shops, they're having an extremely hard time finding workers. We have an opportunity for growth. A lot of businesses are busier than they've ever been, but they have to do condensed hours, close certain days of the week because They don't have the staffing. So it's a major challenge. And of course, you've got seniors in our community that are living in big homes that may want to downsize, and there's nothing available. All we have is certain types of housing on half-acre lots. So what council is doing is there's three, I would say, unique avenues that we looked at. We just had a special housing meeting to dive into what our options are. So we do have town land. We are going to put out a call for proposals. We want developers to look at the town land and tell us what they would like to do. And we will put parameters on that. We do want long-term rentals addressed in it. We don't want more single home residential houses. We want that kind of townhouses, condos, whatever, even apartment building. We're open for everything, but we're going to do a call for proposals. And the reason we're doing it that way is we could go through a longer process, and I'll talk about that momentarily, but we need shovels in the ground as soon as possible. So developers already have plans in mind of what's feasible. Let's use some of our town land, which would be around the existing, what we call subdivision. And I think we'll have multiple options. And we've already heard from Peter Corbin, who is looking with Atlantic Garden Homes of potentially doing multiple units. Let's not overthink this. Let's not make a long-term, strategy when we need shovels in the ground now. There's people that already have some great plans. But the other thing we're doing is talking about long-term is we are going to be coming up with a development scheme bylaw. And usually you think of bylaws, it's more red tape. But what this does is it actually says specifically what the town needs on a parcel of land. And what we do is we line up the zoning for them so the developer can come in, build exactly what we want, and they won't be met with red tape because we've already done the heavy lifting. The other opportunity of developing that in the background is there's opportunities to partner with CMHC, so the federal government. There's also in the spring, we're hoping that the province has some, I guess you could say, some meat on the bones of a real affordable housing strategy. We're supposed to hear an update. But long term, the more partners that we get in with the municipality and other levels of government is the more support developers can have and then make more affordable housing. Because it's one thing to have long-term rentals, it's another thing to have affordable. So the long-term process in the background can also help us. And then last is a complete different line of thinking for the town of St. Andrews is if you talk to developers, unfortunately, they would probably tell you the town of St. Andrews is not a great community to develop. It's very hard. And there's some good reasons for that. We're a heritage town. We have to respect our heritage. It's quaint. There's certain places that you don't want a big building. We've got to be careful to make sure we don't lose what we are. But in the same sense, there are areas in which we have to be a little bit more open-minded and really find some housing solutions. It's like everybody wants more housing, but nobody wants it kind of in their neighborhood. But we're going to have to find a solution for that. So where we're switching with developers is versus you buy the land, it's your own private land, it's your problem, develop it how you want. The town is looking at models of actually having incentives. And you can't give people back their tax dollars. You're not allowed to do that. But what you can do is you can actually give multi-year incentives. So, year one, you would get this much back. And essentially, the town isn't paying it out because you've got more in tax dollars by building it. And it's a multi-year strategy where developers over the course of time can get back some of their investment for putting in services. I think we need to go from a place that's hard to develop to a place that's actually encouraging development. And that doesn't happen overnight. I'm not saying it's easy, but I can tell you that the fact that we're already having these conversations, it is a different mindset than we've had in the past to make a difference. And then those are the three different lanes that council's looking at, but I've also had some really positive conversations with different organizations in town and some other moving parts on private land where I'm optimistic that, there's 5 or 6 different parcels of land in town that something could. And even if you hit 1 or 2 of those a year, you're going to make a significant difference over the next 4 years. So I'm hoping that in the next month or 2 that we're able to tell you that something big's happening here in the spring. But I feel we're on the cusp of it, but the conversations we're having are very positive.
Sounds very exciting. Another thing the town is looking at proposals for is someone to manage the fitness center. Now, obviously, there's been a lot of growth in the W.C. O'Neill Arena where we are filming this right now. The Wellness Center continues to be a success. The new Information and Tourism Center just below us seems to be busy. What is the latest on the fitness center? So
the fitness center obviously was part of the Wellness Center. It would be at the front. It would have been where the Tourist Information Center used to be. Now it's on the other side of the building, but that has been, it's open space right now, and it's open for proposals. Council received a proposal. It was the first one we had in quite some time. Obviously, when we built it, COVID happened. Probably not the right time to operate a fitness facility. They were closed half the time. The restrictions made it extremely difficult to run that type of business. So now that we're back in phase green, we've opened the door up to say we'd like to get some proposals. We've already got one, but it is a public asset. The building is publicly owned. And before you just give it to a specific business user, you got to make sure that you've given everybody the opportunity to pitch what they think should go there. The model that we had was more based around classes, but what I heard from council is they want more of a hybrid model. Classes are fine, but people that are, have work schedules or whatever, we want to have some flexibility where there's open hours where they can go in on their own and do some type of exercise. So I've already talked to another interested party, so I think we'll have some multiple offers of what that space can be. And we also formed a committee, which Councillor Hurdle is on, and he's going to be looking at the proposals, and we're going to hopefully have an announcement on that. And the other thing with the wellness center, is in addition to the having a fitness facility, is part of our priority setting is our CAO, Chris Spear, is aware that we need to start, and we've done some preliminary stuff, but we need to start being more actively recruiting a dentist for the community. We have them in neighboring communities. We're very fortunate that there's a number of good ones in St. Stephen, but there's a lot of people that would like to see one in town. And since Dr. Spires retired, it's been kind of a gap at our community. So the fact that we have a brand new facility in the W.C. O'Neill with other medical professionals, you got to think that somebody out there will find it as a business opportunity. No different than bringing a second doctor in. It's a wonderful business opportunity with such a lovely facility right here in a beautiful community.
On the topic of the arena, some fees are going down in price as well as parking tickets in town. Can you speak a little bit just quickly about the changes in some rental fees in the arena as well as parking tickets?
Absolutely. So this community is trying to make friends very early. We're lowering fees. So we actually have a hearing of objections on lowering fees. And of course, no one shows up. No one's going to, and you could voice support at hearings of objection, but it's been quiet so far. So there was a number of fees that staff themselves also brought forward to us that said, these are a little out of alignment. So I'll give you an example is I believe to rent the W.C. O'Neill arena floor for a day with no ice in it was $1,000. Like, this building is paid for and funded year round by the taxpayers. You want it to be vibrant. You want stuff going on. So we significantly lowered the fees for using that facility. If there's something that provides recreation in this community, it doesn't cost us $1,000 to have just a cement floor with some lights on. So we lowered that. Some of our parking fees, like you alluded to in the town, they were extremely high. And I'm not saying that we want parking infractions to increase, but they've got to be realistic. Sometimes it's just an honest accident to get hit with a $150 fine. That was a little hefty in our eyes. So there's different fines for depending on the severity of I guess you could say, the infraction. And then the other thing we've done is when you come to development, sometimes when you want to do a development in the town, whether it be on your home, there's what they call terms and conditions that get attached to it. In order to get terms and conditions in this town, the fee was $1,000. And really, it doesn't cost us $1,000. Our planners do spend time on it, so we actually cut that by 75% down to $250. So it's about right-sizing some of the fees. A lot of them are great, but some of them were a little extreme, and this council has already reviewed those. They really hit the ground with staff running and are making those changes, which, again, there was obviously no opposition to lowering fines.
On a more exciting note, we have festivals like Indulge coming back in October. Before we get to Indulge, though, there is a new event going on. It's St. Andrew's Appreciation Day, August 28th. Dr. Russell, Jennifer Russell, big band is coming, but as we all know her from the pandemic, Dr. Russell will be in town for that. Can you tell us a little bit more about what will happen that day? It's going to be quite a big celebration.
It is. So we've had over a year and a half of canceled events, and I'm not saying that the pandemic is behind us. I'm not saying that we shouldn't be cautious, but if you talk to people in the community, there is a lot of reason to celebrate. And really the main three things that we're celebrating, the biggest one is the people that have worked during the pandemic, the people that have volunteered. I think it's important that we celebrate the fact that as a community, we got through how far this has gone so far. I could get into specifics. So whether it be if you go to the pharmacy, the people that were giving vaccines were volunteers. I don't think a lot of people knew that most of those people were volunteers. If you look at our home delivery program through the Kiwanis and volunteers in the community, we were one of the first in the country to have a home delivery program. That's how quick and responsive we are. So we have so much to be thankful for of our volunteers, but also, our essential workers, they were there. But even, Joey's independent grocer, those people, we didn't know what COVID was. They were there every day working, and there's so much we have to be thankful for our residents, but also neighboring communities. Let's celebrate. St. Andrews businesses did very, very well compared to a lot of communities during the pandemic. So all of our visitors, whether you're from St. John, Fredericton, Moncton, Northern New Brunswick, if you came to St. Andrews, come that day. Let's celebrate the fact that we're back to green. We're able to kind of have a little bit of a celebration. And the last thing is, we are aware that the Atlantic bubble was very strict regulations, and there was a lot of people that owned property in St. Andrews and New Brunswick. They weren't able to get to it. There's a lot of people that had loved ones. If you lived in Calais and your family's in St. Stephen, you couldn't see them for almost a year and a half. There's a lot of people that waited patiently to be able to be back into our community. So we have so many different things to celebrate. So this new event is called St. Andrews Appreciation Day. It's going to start with, we haven't done it in a couple of years, the pancake breakfast at the fire hall. The St. Andrews Farmers Market's going to be there. There is some dragon boat races in Katie's Cove. Town Council's been challenged. So I'm going to be in a dragon boat, which is a little bit concerning. I do not know anything about dragon boats, but I'm going to learn. And then from there at Kira, we're going to have our Community Appreciation Awards. We're going to put on a big stage. And not that it wasn't nice behind, we've had it in the past, Sheriff Andrews' house. Not that it wasn't nice, but we want to put it on a bigger stage. So we're going to do it at the amphitheater. And then the Jen Russell Big Band, so obviously known as Dr. Jennifer Russell. A lot of people don't know she's multi-talented. She's even playing at Harvest Jazz and Blues. So it's going to be a concert by donation for United Way. So there's that charity component, but it'll be affordable for everybody. After that, there's evening entertainment downtown. There will be a stage in Market Square, and then of course fireworks at 9 p.m. to wrap up the day. So I'm excited to kind of, as a community celebrate. It's been a long haul, and I know that we have other, things that we have to overcome. We're not done with COVID. We know that, but while we're in phase green right now, it feels appropriate to celebrate how far we've come.
Yeah, and if I was going to live anywhere during COVID-19, this was the place to be. I think it brought our community closer,
Blessed.
if that's even possible.
Yeah, blessed.
Well, thank you for being here today, Brad. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
My guest today has been Brad Henderson, Mayor of the Town of St. Andrews. I'm Vicki Hogarth. You're watching Your Town Matters.